evening. April the 18th, 1999 is a day that 30,000 people will remember for the rest of their lives. It's the day that they took part in the Flora London Marathon. There were runners of all ages and all standards, from the world's best to the just plain big-hearted. They were all winners, and they tramped around the city's streets, cheered for their stamina and their dedication. There's been a lot of laughs, a lot of pain, and enough perspiration to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Well, just getting round for most of them was the priority, but for the elite athletes, there were titles to be won. Brendan Foster, Paul Dickinson and David Coleman watched the races unfold.
90,000 wanted to run, 41,500 were accepted, and a record number of 31,583 will start. The starter, David Hemery, Olympic gold medalist. The elite women's race underway, 26 miles, 385 yards. A very inviting start. Indeed, the first few miles are inviting on this London Marathon course, tempting athletes to go a little bit too fast too soon. The two pacemakers, Karlshoy of Denmark, wearing 113, and Zakharova 120 of Russia.
And the object of the exercise for the two pacemakers is to get the class field of athletes, including Joyce Chepchumba, a former winner, Manuela Machado, the European champion, Elana Maya, Olympic silver medalist, and Fernandez of Mexico, to the halfway point in around 1 hour and 12 minutes. And this is crucial to the success of this marathon.
The athletes usually looking for around 5 minutes 20 seconds for the first mile, and they normally hit it. Really strong field this. That's Manuela Machado, former world champion, twice the European champion from Portugal. In the cap is Carroll, the #1 Australian.
And back at the start, the task of starting the Flora Wheelchair Marathon goes to BBC's Helen Rollason, whose own courage has been tested to the limit over the last couple of years. Both defending champions are here. Tanni Gray right in the centre, the red sleeves there and the pink hat depicting all the women competitors, and Heinz Frey of Switzerland, the world marathon record holder and the London course record holder too. David Holding strikes out for the front in the blue shirt, 4 times a winner of this race.
2 miles gone in the women's race. Karlshoy and the Russian Zakharova, the two pacemakers, still there, but so too is Carroll of Australia. Recent winner of the Paris Marathon, a fine Australian athlete. The best since Lisa Ondieki. Well, now the start of the men's elite race on one side of Blackheath Common. On the other side, the masses go from Greenwich Park.
And the real marathon is underway now. The masses are on their way. They'll take about 13 or 14 minutes to come through that start line there. And in excess of 30,000 are expected to start in this London Marathon, and it could be a record number of finishers if things go well later on in the day. But we've got a few stories to unfold before we see that.
More than 70 nations and people from all over Great Britain taking part in this marathon. It really has become a magnet for runners of all shapes and sizes and ability from all over the world. People running shoulder to shoulder and in the end helping each other.
And now the lead women at the Cutty Sark, 6 miles into the race, and Nikki Carroll, the Australian, the second fastest Australian who's ever run the marathon after Lisa Ondieki, who's an Olympic medalist in the marathon. Very aggressive at this point, wants to be sharing the lead with the pacemakers, wants to be pressing the pace, and around her she's got some class athletes. Machado's tucked in behind her, Elana Maya is going along for the ride, and right at the back of the group, the former winner, Joyce Chepchumba, and that's the way Joyce prefers to run the marathon, just picking them off as she goes.
Tremendous record she's got. She's won it, she's finished second and finished third. Meanwhile, in the men's race, They're around 2 miles. That Kenyan out in front, Brendan's done this before.
Well, some say he does it to get on television. Well, he's achieved his aim. The pacemakers here in the men's race are actually going a little bit too fast for the bulk of the runners. They're not that keen to follow it.
The pacemakers in the men's wheelchair event are really going great guns here. In the yellow shirt there is Joel Genot of France, and Heinz Fry, the defending champion, what, about 3 or 4 meters behind.
Just drop back a touch.
They're absolutely flying. Genot, who won in Paris 2 weeks ago. And there's Monica Wetterström of Sweden, won this race 2 years ago, where she set the course record. And at the moment, it looks as though she's about 2 minutes ahead of Tanni Gray.
And there, Nikki Carroll, intent on sharing the pace. Pressing the pacemaker, moving alongside her at every point. That's 106, the Australian in the black cap. And alongside her, Alana Maya.
Up there as well, Fernandez of Mexico, who ran so well last year and faded in the closing stages. Machado's there as well. And in fact, all the big names are gathering.
And the pacemakers are towing the men along at an extremely quick pace. 1 mile there, and Josiah Tugwani, the Olympic champion, he's decided to make an effort away from the chasing group on his own to try and close down that gap. He's actually doing it. He's really accelerating at this point in the race.
But he's having to work hard to do it and probably lost his place. That's the second group, containing most of the big names. Bong Ju of Korea. Next to him, the fastest man ever, the Brazilian Da Costa. There's the champion, number 1, Anton of Spain. Lee Troop, Australia, in the dark vest. And John Brown also in the leading group.
Well, just approaching the halfway point, the men's wheelchair racers have come over Tyre Bridge, and not surprisingly, it's the same 2 guys in the lead. Heinz Fry, the defending champion, leading at the moment.
Well, the lead man approaching the Cuddy Sock around 6.5 miles. And they're certainly cutting out quite a pace.
And in that leading group, only one of the main contenders, and that's Josiah Tugwani. We're looking down the field, and the main protagonists, there's El Muaziz on his own in the gap between the first and second group, and the main protagonists, the stars of the show, if you like, are in that chasing group. Now the dilemma, what do they do? How are they going to bridge that gap, and who's going to make the pace to do that?
Well, certainly got 1 or 2 problems there to solve. Moving through to the leaders is the man who finished second last year, wearing 51, El Muaziz of Morocco. And then second group have got to watch this. They can't let some of these talented athletes in front get away too far.
And now Nikki Carroll over Tower Bridge, receiving tremendous support from the crowds on the side of the road, as Machado and Alana Maya are doing. But probably the favourite at the back of the group, allowing them just to plod along ahead of her. She's not doing anything about it yet, and that's Joyce Chepchumba of Kenya.
Well, certainly some pretty big names in that group. I must say the Russian pacemaker, Zakharova, doing a very, very good job. Alongside her, Carroll. And then McCann of Australia in the sunglasses. And Alana Maya.
And 12 miles gone for Monica Wetterström. Over the last 3 years, it's been Tanni Gray. Wetterström once in 1997.
Well, the leaders in the men's race approaching Tower Bridge, which is between 12 and 13 miles. And that's the chasing group, and they've led a gap. Being led by Bong Ju of Korea.
And there is Tanni Gray. together with one of the men's competitors, finding things a little tough out there and knowing, I'm sure, that Monica Wedderstrom is leading by some distance.
And now the pacemakers have done their job. They've got the women through the halfway in 1 hour 12 minutes, and Nikki Carroll, who always seemed to be intent on leading, is now doing the job herself. She's beginning to stretch them.
Very, very aggressive, and she looks very, very strong. Winner of the Paris Marathon earlier this year. Australia's best woman marathon runner since Lisa Ondieki.
Give us a wave, you're looking good.
And certainly, she's pushing it hard. Meyer in second place, taking liquid on board.
And that's the chasing group in the men's race. The talent's in there. Lee Bong Yu, the Olympic silver medalist, and looking down the road, he won't be able to see the leading group, but in the leading group, there's the Olympic champion Josiah Tugwane and last year's runner-up in the London Marathon, El Muaziz. The rest of them around are pacemakers to a certain extent, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens when they get past halfway.
16 is Taurus, talented young Kenyan, and the chasing group can't let this lot go too far. One or two big names there.
And there's the lead group in the women's race, and now the race is really on. Ilana Maya approaching the 17-mile point, Manuela Machado in the middle, and Nikki Carroll, who's been keen to lead all the way, and Joyce Chepchumba in 4th place. That's the highest place she's occupied so far. She's just picking them off.
And 5th is Fernandez of Mexico, running more sensibly than last year when she established a big lead but blew up in the closing stages and finished 7th. So 5 away from the rest now, and the race on.
And just 3.5 miles left for these two fellas. Jeannot just trailing Heinz Frey at the minute as they go over the cobblestones, the toughest part of the race.
And the pacemaker, Jesus of Portugal, leading El Muaziz, the Moroccan, who's managed to find himself in a position here where the big talent and the athletes who he was concerned about are now down the road, running together, and now got the dilemma of how they close this gap.
Well, Fernandez now has made a move. The Mexican, she's very impatient, and she's taking them on. Is it too soon?
And the Flora Wheelchair Championship is down to 2 men now. Jules Jeannot of France just trailing Heinz Frey on the right-hand side. Can the title go to Switzerland for the 3rd time since 1995? He's about 1 wheelchair length ahead. I think Heinz Frey is going to do it. A tremendous finish by both men. No other competitors in sight. Heinz Frey wins it. Jeannot in 2nd place.
Meanwhile, in the women's race, the leading pair away from the others, Fernandez of Mexico. A brave bid this. Chepchumba, former winner, chasing her hard. They've gone through 21 miles, and the Mexican looking strong, but Chepchumba looking very, very determined. Behind them, Machado of Portugal and Maya of South Africa.
Now Monica Wedderstrom at 23 miles. She's been on her own in the lead ever since the start and going well still.
As we close in, it's the leader, El Muaziz of Morocco. He's really now making a bid to try and win this London Marathon. It was so disappointed last year in getting overhauled in the last couple of 100 meters. This time, can he make it his own?
Well, this chasing group have got a problem. They're 2 minutes behind at 18 miles, and that's a big gap. I don't think they know that the leader is such a talented athlete.
And this is the race for 3rd and 4th place in the Flora Wheelchair Marathon. David Holding, 4 times a winner, gets it, ahead of Denis Lemunier of France.
Chepchumba now has taken Fernandez and is making her bid for her 2nd win in the London Marathon. She's got some record. She's run it 3 times. She won it in 97, was 2nd in 96, and 3rd last year. Could this be a 2nd goal?
And Tanny Gray, MBE, now knows that really she's only going for second place, and it looks so hard with just over 3 miles to go.
And still El Mouaziz pressing on, anxious to take his drinks. You would suggest now that the middle pace that he injected is going to take its toll, and he really has to try and contain himself and keep himself together.
He's at 21 miles and still behind them. They're making no impression. A check back along the course shows they're still over 2 minutes behind. That's Lee Troop, coached by Steve Monaghetti of Australia, right at the back of the group in his first marathon. Kiprono is leading that group.
And who says life doesn't begin at 40 when Monica Wedderström of Sweden had her 40th birthday. She won the London Wheelchair Marathon for the very first time. 2 years on, she's got it again and beaten one of the great wheelchair racers in the world into second place, Tanny Gray.
Well, now a clear leader, Chepchumbo. She's such an organised athlete nowadays. She knows exactly what she's doing and knows the opposition so well. And she's handled this outstandingly well. Fernandez, Mexico. Well, she's run a good race. She seems certain to finish in second place.
And now El Mouaziz through the Tower of London, staying on the carpet, avoiding the cobbles. He's tired, you can tell that, as down the road Joyce Chepchumba takes her gloves off. She's going to enjoy the last few minutes of the women's marathon. She's run a great race in a true traditional style. The further the race has got, the stronger she's got, and the more closely she's approached the lead.
And she's also approaching a world best, set by Simon, according to UK standards, 2:23.24. Kiprono is the leading man in that chasing group, but they're still 2 minutes behind the leader. Castro is there, also two, Pinto, Leone, Italy, and Anton of Spain. Well, now the leader, Chepchumba, coming into the finishing straight. A look at the clock shows she's going to be very close to a new world best. And if she gets it, 2:23.24 is the standing time set by Lydia Simon of Romania, recognised in Great Britain, not everywhere, but in Great Britain, as the world best time. If she can get inside 2:23.24, there's a prize of $125,000. Can she do it? By 1 second, according to the unofficial clock, she's taken the London Marathon and also set a world best time according to UK standards.
And a brave race and a sensible race in second place, Adriana Fernandez of Mexico. She held herself back, and as you can see, she's given everything as she comes through the line in a new personal best time, 2 hours, 24 minutes and 7 or 8 seconds. And that's a good performance by Fernandez. And as usual, a solid performance from Manuela Machado. And my feeling is at this time of the year, if Machado can be third in the London Marathon, we'll see more of her in the World Athletics Championships in Seville later in the year.
Well, in the men's race, the battle on, but I think they may not be aware of it. They're running for second place because the Moroccan is well away, Al Mouaziz. That's Pinto, twice a winner of this race, twice third, and he's really going.
And the last time perhaps we'll see the name of Tanny Gray on the London Marathon wheelchair race list. She gets married in 2 weeks' time to Ian Thompson in Cardiff. Tremendous achievement from Tanny once again, second here.
Drama developing in the men's race. He's still got a big cushion, but it's inside 2 minutes now, with Pinto closing and closing fast, and the leader slowing.
You can see El Mouaziz struggling there, and Pinto running like a sprinter along the embankment. Well, I've rarely seen anyone finish a marathon like this, but El Mouaziz did his running earlier on, and maybe Pinto has left it too late.
Well, I must say that I think the chasing group left it too late, misjudged it. Pinto has gone for it here, but I don't think they realise that an athlete of the Moroccan's ability was in that lead group. He's tiring fast, but he's got a cushion.
Well, at this point here last year, he was overtaken by Abel Anton, and he lost the London Marathon. This time, he's not going to allow any mistake to happen. You can see Pinto just coming into the shot at the top of the picture, but El Mouaziz has deserved this race. He ran aggressively. Pinto misjudged it. He looks full of running, but this man deserves the victory that eluded him last year.
He celebrates, and no wonder. The course record is 2 hours, 7 minutes, 55. Held by Pinto. He's just got to miss it. And with it, $25,000. But he takes $55,000 of the winner, and he deserves it too.
He certainly does deserve it. And Antonio Pinto, well, I'd love to see the split times for the last couple of miles, because he's been running like a track runner. The European 10,000 metre champion, 2 times winner of the London Marathon before. This time, I think his tactics got in the way, because if you look at him, his ability's still there.
I think the big names in that chasing group watched each other for too long, ignored the Moroccan, or perhaps didn't even know an athlete like that was out in front. Meanwhile, the race for third place, and John Brown of Great Britain there. But last year's winner, Anton of Spain, is a bit too quick, former European 10,000 metre track champion. And Anton comes home in third place with John Brown, a really outstanding fourth, his best marathon ever. He said before the event he hasn't got his head around it yet. This is third marathon, and he's now showing the sort of marathon ability he's got. He'll improve yet, no doubt. Iparono next.
John, congratulations, 8th last year. You move up to 4th this time. How comfortable did you feel out there?
I felt quite comfortable the whole way, really. Last year I had a very bad time in the last 5 miles, but this year no problems. I felt strong all the way to the end, so it was good.
And before this marathon, John, you'd threatened to go back to 10k had you not put in a great performance. You're going to stick with the marathon now?
Maybe. You know, when you have a bad experience in the marathon, it sticks in your mind a long time. But you know, I don't feel too badly damaged after this, so you know, it certainly hasn't put me off.
That's good to hear. So John Brown confirmed in 4th place. He was the leading Briton, but the title went to the man they call the Marrakesh Express, Abdelkader El Mouaziz of Morocco, going better than he did last year. Portugal's Antonio Pinto maintains his record of never having finished outside the top 3, and the defending champion Abel Anton of Spain was 3rd. Incidentally, Ronaldo da Costa, the world record holder, came home in 17th place on his London debut. The women's event proved to be one of the great races. It was won in a new world best time of 2 hours, 23 minutes and 22 seconds by Kenya's Joyce Chepchumba. And she dragged Adriana Fernandez and Manuela Machado to lifetime best times as well. In the men's wheelchair race, Fry and Joel were wheel to wheel coming into the home straight, and the sprint finish was won by the Swiss Heinz Fry, his 3rd London title. Britain's David Holding came home behind that pair. And Sweden's Monica Westerstrom took the honours in the women's race, beating her great rival, 4-time London winner Tanni Gray, who afterwards told us the story of her journey.
It was quite difficult warming up. I took a couple of miles to get going, and then between sort of 3 and 13 I was pushing quite fast, and then coming over Tower Bridge I started slowing down and just got slower and slower.
Any reasons for that?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe my mileage hasn't been quite as much as I would have liked, but I mean, my track work and everything's been going really well. So, and I'm getting married in 2 weeks, so maybe I'll blame it on that.
A bit of a distraction. That's Ian Thompson. Did you meet him through competitions?
Yeah, I did. We've known each other for about 15 years, and we finally decided to tie the knot, but it was actually quite hard picking a date when neither of us were competing. So 2 weeks after London seemed a good time.
Whilst the full 26-mile version of today's marathon was reserved for consenting adults, London also staged a scaled-down race for youngsters. For the 13th year, 2,000 competitors completed their route from Victoria Embankment to the Mall, a distance of just under 3 miles. And as usual, it unearthed some promising talent from amongst those who were taking part. And they were accompanied all the way by some of Britain's best fully grown athletes, the likes of Ewan Thomas, Steve Smith, Steve Backley and Jonathan Edwards. And there were winners in age group sections ranging from 11 to 17, and the winners came from all of London's 33 boroughs as well as from other cities across the UK. Medal winners too in the mini wheelchair marathon, and who knows, we could be seeing some of these again in the full-sized event in a few years' time. Well, everyone who crosses the full 26-mile version gets a medal today, but that's not the only incentive for most of the fun runners taking part. Since the event first began back in 1981, over £80 million has been raised for numerous charities. And the thought of collecting their sponsorship money was what was driving thousands today. Some ran in shorts, some adopted a less conventional approach.
The masses streaming on, encouraging each other.
Morning, everybody.
All shapes and sizes.
Well, the fun starts here, but 25 miles down the road or so, it's going to get a little more painful. But the atmosphere at the start is absolutely electric.
What's this one saying? Victor, helping blind.
Millions and millions of pounds will be raised for charity here today.
That's his aim, that's you, isn't it? Childline, cancer research.
Well, everybody's got a story to tell. When they run the London Marathon and the Wombles, they're not off to Wimbledon. They'll be up the Mall like everybody else in a few hours' time.
14 minutes since the elite runners started, and the last ones on their way on the 26-mile journey, which will take many, many hours to complete, especially if you're carrying a plant.
And one of the most famous landmarks on the course, the Cuddy Sark, at 6 miles, so take it easy when you're going round there. There's still a long way to go. And one of the features, of course, of the London Marathon course, spectators lining the route almost every inch of the way. I don't think he'll be holding it that high when he comes down the Mall. Perhaps he will, but being carried along on what Chris Bacher called a wave of human emotion. And Chris Moon, one of the real characters in this race, lost his right arm and leg in a landmine accident in Mozambique in 1995.
And once started this race and also ran in it on that occasion. By the way, a lot of these runners running for Kosovo appeal. That's the number if you want to help, 0870 6060 900, 0870 6060 900, and a lot of them are wearing yellow ribbons to mark the problems in Kosovo.
Well, Barbara Cole on the left-hand side, and Mick Gambrell started their race very early today with the rest and dashed off to Charlton House. In a few seconds' time, Barbara to become Mrs. Mick Gambrell. A real first for the marathon.
Oh, I'm so excited. Hi, Barbara Cole.
Take you, Michael Charles Gambrell.
Take you, Michael Charles Gambrell.
To be my wedded husband.
To be my wedded husband.
Push it on.
Yeah. I've been running.
And they've now got 24 miles to go.
And 30,000 wedding guests as well. Well, there's bands all over this London Marathon course. All the pubs around the course, and believe me, there are many supporting an individual charity, maybe more than one charity this year too. Jez is 8 today. That must be Daddy. And Teletubbies too. Although only 3 of them, there should be 4 somehow. Well, there's many good club runners out there, but there's a very special one, Steve Cram, former world record holder.
How you doing?
Not too bad, thanks.
I've always wanted to hold hand of a fairy. What's your name? Who are you running for?
Paul Beeland. I'm running for Anthony Bone Marrow Trust and Hospice in Basildon, St Luke's Hospice, Basildon.
So how are you feeling? What condition are you in at this stage?
Well, okay so far, but then there's still an awful lot to go. So I'll let you know better about 2 miles from the end.
Could you just give us a little fashion guidance on the tutu? Is
Yes.
a nice little blue number.
It was made by my daughter Emma, and as was the wand, which is just about holding together. Sellotaped rapidly this morning on a bit of cane, but it's doing all right so far.
Well, there you go. Say thank you to Emma.
Thank you, Emma.
You're a real star. Enjoy
Cheers,
yourself.
mate.
Only halfway through, you know.
Thanks very much.
Still some way to go for him, as with all the others going over Tower Bridge. The elite runners, of course, have been underneath the bridge and they're long gone. The Rhinos and the Save the Rhino Fund, a feature of this London Marathon for what seems like an age now.
Dr. Fox, how are you doing?
Oh, it's the most wonderful morning. I have to say my feet are a bit tired. But the crowd are wonderful. I've wanted to do this for about 10 years now, and to finally do it, and the whole atmosphere, they say it's the best. I can't imagine anything better than this.
I've done it myself a couple of times, and I have to say, I just think it's just the most fantastic occasion.
I have to say, I'm looking though at the mile and thinking 14, right, only 12 to go. I'm counting everyone, I have to say, but I've got to be back to do a show this afternoon, so I just want to keep going, but it's fun.
Are you thinking of all those wonderful songs that you love in your head while you're going around?
No, I'm just thinking about how much my feet ache. I'm trying to think about more constructive things. I'm going to raise about 50,000 quid doing this, so that's a good reason to sort of keep going, but I have to say, at the moment, I just want to finish.
Okay, well, we'll let your feet do the
Thank you very
talking.
much.
Bye-bye.
Oh, thousands upon thousands of runners going through the Isle of Dogs near the City Pride. This used to be an area which was almost bereft of spectators, but they're packed in there now. The oldest man in the race, once again in the London Marathon, Abraham Weintraub from the United States, born in 1910.
More than 20 bands playing in various areas around the course, adding to the day's carnival atmosphere.
We see rhinos at the London Marathon every year now. Is this your first time, or are you a veteran now?
It's the first time I've run in a rhino costume. It's the third time I've run the marathon.
And who on earth persuaded you to put this costume on?
My friend Ben. Just wait till I see him.
Paul, have you done it before?
I haven't run in costume, no. I did a Hastings half marathon a few weeks ago, but that was it. Yeah.
And how does it feel in there?
It's fine. I've just come back from Africa, so it's quite nice.
Keep it in keeping then.
I would like to say that 97% of the world's rhinos have been killed in the last 30 years. So it's a very important cause that we're running for. I think that's important that people know that.
Well done, well done. Anyway, carry on. Don't get too hot.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tim.
Who are you?
We're at Cranfield. We're a team from the Cranfield Management School.
And what's your costume? You're a caterpillar, are you?
No, not quite. A centipede.
Oh, you're a centipede. Yeah, I haven't quite counted the legs.
We're running for Dr. Bernardo's.
And what do you reckon to raise?
About £7,000.
And what is it like carrying this thing? Because it seems quite heavy to me.
Do you want to swap?
No, I'd rather not, thank you.
Okay.
Just one thought. You can run if you want to.
Okay. See you then.
Cheers.
Bye.
Well, that's Derek Brown from Leeds. A monster effort, I think, is what's required here. So many people in fancy dress, and the masses keep coming.
Well, they've been out on the course around 3.5 hours now, and the number of finishers beginning to build up to the peak period. They come through in the peak period at around 1,000 a minute.
We wish the leukemia research everyone there well done, finishing as a player. I think it's the first very recent. Yeah, look at this.
Jay Griffiths. Hello. Actress, now long distance runner.
No, just tryee. This is my first time and oh God. It's just great people, but I'm a bit weary.
It's a wonderful achievement if you get round there.
It does feel good, and the first 10 miles were fine, but my legs are beginning to go.
I suppose it gives you a chance to sort of remember your next script or whatever, doesn't it?
Well, what's lovely is just people, they just say such lovely things as you're running by, you know, they keep you going. It's nice.
And how long are you hoping to take?
5 hours.
Wonderful.
That should be, mind you, if I just finish, it'll be great.
Well, well done for having a go at it, and good luck on making the 5 hour mark.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's a lady called Dr. Verma. She's GP. There she is. Comes from Australia. Long way to run 26 miles.
Nearly there.
Well, it's the first time I've seen one of those guys smile. But a London Marathon course full of colour, full of sounds and full of excitement.
Tell your wife you love her on the telly.
Can you hear all that? I'm not on telly, I hope.
You're on the telly. Tell your wife you love her.
Blow me. She's shopping. She's spending all the money.
Will you tell your wife you love her, please, or not?
Yeah, okay.
Tell her.
Oh, okay. I got to get going.
You haven't said. Tell her you love her.
All right then. Oh, that's.
I love you.
I love you. There
well
you go.
done.
Can you hear all that?
Stubbs has become a matchmaker up there.
Well, I think that fella Graham Harris of Kingsland will get a bit of stick when he gets home. This is certainly one way to finish the race. Goodness knows how they've got the energy. But I think coming up the mile, it just gives them that little bit extra.
This is going to be the youngest finisher in the history of the London Marathon. Football challenge there, finishing.
One still wonders how they get round. They get round in their thousands.
That looks a very, very hot costume, Sooty, but you've got a lot of friends with you at the moment. Can you actually talk? A very, very silent Sooty. Go on, take the head off and tell us who you are.
Steve Cooper from Sergeant Cancer Care.
I bet you're glad to take that off for a while, aren't you?
Not allowed to. Not allowed to.
Grant Boyce with his own toilet.
Well, this year they had a competition to find one of the strangest fancy dresses, and that certainly was one of them. The sight at the finish and the organisation of this London Marathon, superb as always. Such enjoyment out there on the marathon course. And still they come. The centipede that we saw on Tower Bridge, they've made it.
They were quite offended to be called a caterpillar.
And Bernardo's will certainly benefit to the tune of some thousands of pounds. The Millennium Bug. Well, we've got the Millennium Dome, of course, out on the course. That is the only Millennium Bug we've got here today. And there they are, Mr. and Mrs. Mick Gambrell. They've had a tough time today. They've had to stop almost every couple of 100 yards for photographs and for confetti and autographs. And the men from Essex, well, they've been here for many years now as well.
Mr. and Mrs. Michael Gambrell. What a fantastic day for you. How's the honeymoon been so far?
It's been absolutely brilliant. The crowds have been out of this world. They've really pushed us along, and the other runners, everyone's been great. It's been wonderful.
I know you refused to have any champagne at the ceremony. Have you, have you had any since?
Well, yes, we did have a couple of little sips on the way round, but nothing too serious.
Well, our congratulations once again. Thank you very much for inviting us to your wedding. We've really enjoyed sharing it with you. And all the best for the rest of your married life.
Thank you.
We'll leave you to enjoy your moment of glory. Goodbye.
Well, they met whilst training in Lanzarote. They got engaged while competing in a marathon. And look at this. He's even got the energy to carry his bride over the line.
What about the honeymoon now?
Church service which can't be made.
Well, the two medals they get at the finish will sit very proudly on their mantelpiece for many years to come. We wish them luck. As a mate of mine from my athletics club has often worked on this part of the course right at the finish, and he says the emotions run high for hours and hours on end.
Hello, sir. Am I right in believing you might be Dennis, the Menace?
Yes.
And did you behave yourself on this course?
Yeah, I didn't cheat this year. I got all the way around, going the right way around this year.
And did you get a lot of encouragement from the crowd?
Thank
So what's your real name, Dennis?
Wayne.
Wayne, and where are you from?
Watford.
Watford. And are you doing it for a charity?
I'm doing it for the Watford baby unit, special care unit.
Lovely cause, and well done today.
Thank you very much.
Hello, how did that go today?
Great, absolutely fantastic. Except at the end I fell over. My 13th London Marathon.
So it wasn't unlucky for you?
No, it wasn't. No, I was 2 minutes slower than last year, I must admit, you know. But no, I felt great. As soon as I saw that time 4:40, I thought, can't be bad, can it?
And your charity?
Macmillan, yeah, Macmillan. That lasts quite a few years now. Yeah, great. All right, Shirley Cook's the name. All right.
Hello, sir. Is it Miss?
It's everything just now. It's a mixture. How are you doing? Hey, less of that. I've had some of that going round today.
They say blondes have all the fun. Is it true?
I suspect they're right. By all the approaches I've had today, I think they're right.
And how many whistles have you had?
I've had plenty. I've had everything. I've had everything. I've had to up my pace a few times to keep away from them, but I've enjoyed every minute, and it's been well worth it. I'm raising money for charity, so that's what it's about. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Well, I don't know if anybody's ever done a calculation in terms of how many people support the marathon around the course, but it's got to be into the millions. I'm sure that applies to a lot of people today.
Well, I am told, actually, it's the biggest sporting audience for any event in Great Britain. Whether that's a fact or not, I'm not sure, but that's what they say.
A grandfather and his grandson at the finish.
You look as if you got suntan there, sir.
I think I got too much of a sun today. Yes, I think it's all them baked beans I ate yesterday, to tell you the truth. Oh, it's a fantastic race. I come here every year, and it's all for a good cause. And the cause is actually called Get Kids Going, and they raise money for wheelchairs for kids who can't go around, obviously. And fair credit to them, they deserve all the money. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I have been laying in baths of baked beans for 4 days continuously. This is a colour, natural colour of the one called Captain Beanie from Planet Venus. And all I can say, London, here we go, 1999, finished, year 2000, here we go for it. Go for it, my love, thanks.
Also going for it is John Sperling, the first man in the history of this marathon to try and raise $1 million, and he's done it. That's Dennis Hubbard, Kings Lynn, determined to finish. But John Sperling has raised $1 million now as a result of a bet
John,
in
everybody's
Langan's Brasserie.
congratulating you. How does it feel to have raised £1 million and plus?
That bit feels great. The actual running of the marathon doesn't feel so good.
Which bit hurts most?
Running. Walking, in my case, I walked the last 8 miles, I think.
How much pressure did you feel knowing you've got to get through that finishing line to raise the money?
I suppose you have to think there is some pressure, but you don't really think about it. You're in such agony, you don't really give that much thought.
And you shouldn't really ask people after this, but would you do it again?
Definitely not.
Not for 2 million?
I promise you I won't. I promise you.
I'd like to be at the party in Langans now. The unique attraction of taking part and completing a marathon remains a challenge to all. To finish, they say, is to win. A family occasion to complete a treasured memory. If help is needed, it's freely given. People get engaged and couples marry. The Flora London Marathon has a special place in Britain's sporting history.
The London Marathon is a very special event, not just to take part in, but to watch and to work on. Every year you see the same mixture of joy and pain etched on the faces of the competitors. You hear the same stories of courage, of determination and of dedication. But you know, every year it is different. Every year it surprises us. Every year it inspires us in a new way.